The Duino Elegies, the first elegy, by Rainier, Maria, Rilke. Who, if I cried out, would hear me among the angels' hierarchies? And even if one of them suddenly pressed me against his heart, I would perish in the embrace of his stronger existence. For beauty is nothing but the beginning of terror, which we are barely able to endure, and are awed because it serenely disdains to annihilate us. Each single angel is terrifying. And so I force myself, swallow, and hold back the surging call of my dark sobbing. Oh, to whom can we turn for help? Not angels, not humans. And even the knowing animals are aware that we feel little secure and at home in our interpreted world. There remains, perhaps, some tree on a hillside daily for us to see. Yesterday's street remains for us, stayed, moved in with us, and showed no signs of leaving. Oh, and the night, when the wind, full of cosmic space, invades our frightened faces. Whom would it not remain for that longed after, gently disenchanting night, painfully there for the solitary heart to achieve? Is it easier for lovers? Don't you know yet? Fling out of your arms the emptiness into the spaces we breathe. Perhaps the birds will feel the expanded air in their more fervent flight. Yes, the springtime were in need of you. Often a star waited for you to espy it and sense its light. A wave rolled toward you out of the distant past, or as you walked below an open window, a violin gave itself to your hearing. All this was trust. But could you manage it? Were you not always distraught by expectation, as if all this were announcing the arrival of a beloved? Where would you find a place to hide her, with all your great, strange thoughts, coming and going, and often staying for the night? When longing overcomes you, sing of women in love, for their famous passion is far from immortal enough. Those whom you almost envy, the abandoned and desolate ones, whom you found so much more loving than those gratified. Begin ever new again. The praise you cannot attain. Remember, the hero lives on and survives. Even his downfall was for him only a pretext for achieving his final birth. But nature, exhausted, takes lovers back into itself, as if some creative forces could never be achieved a second time. Have you thought of Gaspara Stampa sufficiently? That any girl abandoned by her lover may feel from far intenser example of loving. Might I become like her? Should not their oldest sufferings finally become more fruitful for us? Is it not time that lovingly we freed ourselves from the beloved and quivering endured, as the arrow endures the bowstring's tension, and in this tense release becomes more than itself, for staying is nowhere. Voices, voices, listen to my heart as only saints have listened, until the gigantic call lifted them clear off the ground. Yet they went on, impossibly, kneeling completely unaware. So intense was their listening. Not that you could endure the voice of God, far from it, but listen to the voice of the wind and the ceaseless message that forms itself out of silence. They sweep toward you now from those who died young. Whenever they entered a church in Rome or Naples, did not their fate quietly speak to you as recently as the tablet did in Santa Maria Formosa? What do they want of me? To quietly remove the appearance of suffered injustice that at times hinders a little their spirits from freely proceeding onward. Of course, it is strange to inhabit the earth no longer, to no longer use skills one had barely time to acquire, not to observe roses and other things that promised so much in terms of a human future, no longer to be what one was, in infinitely anxious hands, to even discard one's own name as easily as a child abandons a broken toy. Strange, not to desire to continue wishing one's wishes. Strange to notice all that was related, fluttering so loosely in space. And being dead is hard work, and full of retrieving before one can gradually feel a trace of eternity. Yes, but the living make the mistake of drawing too sharp a distinction. Angels, they say, are often unable to distinguish between moving among the living or the dead. The eternal torrent whirls all ages along with it, through both realms forever, and their voices are lost in its thunderous roar. In the end, the early departed have no longer need of us. One is gently weaned from things of this world, as a child outgrows the need of its mother's breast. But we who have need of those great mysteries, we for whom grief is so often the source of spiritual growth, could we exist without them? Is the legend vain that tells of music's beginning in the midst of the morning for Linos? The daring first sounds of song piercing the barren numbness, and how, in that stunned space, an almost godlike youth suddenly left forever, and the emptiness felt for the first time those harmonious vibrations which now enrapture and comfort and help us.